another show of Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Let's get right to it right away. Adam Haluska, former Hawkeye basketball playing great, going to join us for a few segments and then close out the show with Sean Bock, Hawkeye Insider. But right now, we have Craig and Stacy Schroeder, Fight with Flash Foundation via Facebook or fightwithflash.org. Craig and Stacy, we record this show every Tuesday. Today is April 26th. In 2 days will be the marking of the passing of 7 years of your son, Austin, 22 Flash Schroeder. Can't believe it. So, Stacy, what's one thing that stands out to you in this last 7 years?
Well, so many things stand out, but truly the love and support that we have had for the last 7 years has been amazing. People really touch our hearts with sending their memories and everything to us. And also signs. We have signs. Those are amazing. So that truly is what lifts us up and keeps us moving forward.
And you do a wonderful job of living out Austin's dream. Craig?
Yeah, I think that we all have struggles in our lives, and even for us and our family, we live by win the day. So we literally try to find the positives and not sweat the little things every single day. And as we continue to move forward, you know, he helps us get up out of bed and do our thing. And we continue to find strength and guidance with him in terms of trying to help other people do the same.
Let's do this with Austin then. 22, there you go, Flash. For Craig and Stacy Schroeder, Fight with Flash Foundation via Facebook or fightwithflash.org. I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeye. We'll be back with more with Adam Haluska in just a few moments. Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. As you can see, our buddy Adam Haluska joining us again. Adam, former Hawkeye great, well over that 1,000-point scoring club at Iowa. We've had a lot of these guys on over the years. As you know, the Jess Settles, Jeff Horner. Adam joined us a couple times last year, once via Zoom and then in person. So second time being here. So first of all, as always, Adam, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Always good to be here. Yeah. Always good to talk to you.
Thank you very much. And likewise to you. So how's everything going with you and the family?
Good. They're growing. They're active. So I don't have much time on the weekends.
I was going to ask you what you do with your free time, but you don't have any.
No free time.
You got kids that are active like you or you and your wife. You're in the Iowa City, Solon area where you work here, and Wells Fargo Financial. So getting it done in the financial world. So who better than to talk to than you? I was talking to Jeff Horner a couple of weeks ago. You three amigos, you and Horner and Bruner back in the day, Big Ten championship, so you can relate to that. As Jeff was your MOP or MVP of that tournament back in 2006. Hawkeyes go on a run this year. So you and I are going to talk a lot of basketball today with the Hawkeyes of the last year, being similar to what you guys did in 05-06. Hawkeyes going on a four-day bender and winning 4 in a row, the Big Ten championship tourney. And then guys going pro or guys declaring for the draft, guys entering the transfer portal. All things you've experienced yourself personally and as a team. So let's get right to it.
All right.
So let's talk about this year's Hawkeyes. You know, not much was being said. They knew Keegan was going to be good, maybe not great. Luka was leaving. Wieskamp left. You and I, last time you were here, they had just been drafted. So we talked to you late last summer, early last fall. And you talked about what the guys are going to go through going through their NBA seasons. We know that Joe and Luka had great, really very fine rookie seasons. Luka was on the All-G League team. Played about 15, 20 games in the NBA for the Pistons, but played G League very well. Joe Wieskamp for the Spurs had a very nice G League rookie season. Played a handful, 15 games or so for the parent club, the San Antonio Spurs. So talk about them now with the Hawkeyes this year. We don't expect much, or a lot of people didn't. Gosh, they were picked, 9th or 10th in the Big Ten?
It was low. It was down.
Yeah. And so now you look at how they played in the regular season and they finished, 4th and 5th, and you're saying, gosh, they actually could have, should have, would have won the regular season title, minus a few close losses here and there. So let's talk about that. And all of a sudden they go on that run in the Big Ten tournament and win 4 in a row and win the Big Ten tournament championship, and then a thud against Richmond, which unfortunately you can relate to with Horner and Bruner. Their last games, their last game of your junior year, and then didn't make the postseason with Coach Alford, your and Coach Alford's final year at Iowa. But let's talk about all of that this year, how similar it was to you and your guys.
I think we had some expectations coming into that junior year with Horner and Bruner being seniors. There was definitely an expectation to win, and we had a good year, won 25 games, I think, or more. But this team, Fran really built these guys to just slowly get better. And that's what you want to see in a team, right? They didn't start off too hot. They just were consistent, got better as the year went on. And to your point, the way they finished, they were one of the hottest teams in the country. And it's a shame they went on a great run in the tournament. I do believe 4 games in 4 days, and you play a Thursday game out east. Did not bode well for them. I wish the committee would have did something different. But I can't think of a year that we didn't have those expectations, we were so blessed to watch them as Hawkeye fans, to watch those teams and what they did and all the players. So extremely happy for them. Sad to see it end the way it did.
Yeah. So the disappointment and what happens there against Richmond. Is that just something like you mentioned with, and James Moses was one right after that happened, former Hawkeye great player, and he said the same thing, what you said. You go on those 4 days, and he goes, Dave, I know they're 20, 21. Everybody has that expectation, well, they should never get tired. Well, your legs get tired. When you know that when you travel and you're running up and down. That Richmond game, that appeared to me, and I'd like to hear it from you, what your thoughts are. When you let a team like that stay around that long,
you're right.
That never bodes well, right?
Yeah, and I think the 4 games in 4 days, it's not just about on the court time. It's the mental preparation. It's the, staying up late, the scouting reports. As soon as you win one of those games, you're dialing in for the next game. So it's not just they show up and we watch them on TV again. There's been a lot of prep to get ready for that. So, the emotional high of winning, then having to go deal with the media stuff afterward, you fly back, everything kind of falls into place. Then you get shot out right away to go to the tournament. There's all the media stuff with that. I just think they didn't have a chance to really catch their breath. And, when you talk about the Richmond game, you're right. That's a team you got to hit them early.
Yeah.
And if you don't punk them early and limit their runs, the longer they stay around, the worse.
Yep.
And you could just tell we just could not get over. We weren't making shots. Guys were flat. And again, it's one of those where you look at the NBA now, they're playing a 7-game series.
Yeah.
Iowa most likely wins a 7-game series, no problem with Richmond, but it's a one-and-done game, and they came out and played just enough to beat us, and again, we go home and they continue.
There's so many parallels there that you brought up that I think back to your day, and when you talk about how guys are ready or guys flat and what happens here, and here. But when you look at what happened with Keegan this year, that was something to me where then you saw a game where he got into foul trouble, and we all know Fran's rule. A lot of fans bemoan the rule that, if you get 2 fouls in the first half, whether it's in the 18th minute or 2 minutes into the first half, you're sitting, regardless, as you chuckle and know. So we had that happen, as Hawk fans, we saw that happen a couple times this year with the Hawks. Well, then Chris Murray steps in.
Yep.
So now we are going to do 2 full segments with Adam here talking about the prospects and what you went through yourself and where you foresee some of these guys, what you foresee them going through. So when you take a look at Chris potentially coming back, at least he will know on June 13th. He didn't hire an agent.
Yep.
Jeff Horner, your running mate from many years ago, was on this show regularly during the season. And his last appearance here, he said, Dave, don't be surprised if an NBA scout takes a flyer on Chris, because they think Keegan's the top 5 pick, top 6, depending on your mock draft. But you could easily foresee a GM in the NBA going, hey, that kid's 6'8", 6'9", can shoot. He's going to can jump. He's going to develop like Keegan did.
Yep.
They're twin brothers. You were a pick in the middle of the second round, 43rd overall.
Yep.
If that, and I'm not asking you to be Chris Murray, but if I'm Chris Murray and you take a look at that, you got to look real strong at going to the NBA, don't you?
Yeah, and I think he's serious about it. So you're going to use this time to go work out. There's going to be good opportunities for him to go against guys, right, that he may see himself as better, or just they might be higher on the draft board. So I'm sure they're going to work with a lot of these teams to get him on site, get him to work out. And I think they're going to see the good things that you just mentioned. I mean, he's very similar to Keegan. Maybe didn't get the reps or the opportunities, especially the year before. So he's got the ability. We saw what he did in that Indiana game when Keegan had to sit out and he took over.
Yeah.
He's got the tools, and I think for him and his family, they want to make sure that people get a good view of what he can do on a court. And so you never know, right? If the opportunity comes and he's got a chance, you got to take it.
Adam, you and I have talked about this many times, as did Jeff Horner. Why do you go to college? To get a job.
Yep.
And if you can get a job in the NBA, and the way the G League is structured right now, you can make $500,000 guaranteed, and you can do what Wieskamp and Luka did and benefit, even if you get a one-way contract like they both did, start off with a two-way. That's pretty darn good. And, Chris was in this studio with us earlier this winter, December, January, where Keegan was with us in August.
Yep.
And there's a slow fire that burns them, both those guys. And their dad, Kenyon, same way. You want to talk about competitive. So I think a lot of people think, Chris is the more gregarious, outgoing one. He'll come back. But like you said, you start playing against competition and that fire gets lit in your belly, it's hard to stop that.
Yeah, it's hard. And the other thing, too, we talked about it earlier before the show started, he's not getting any younger. And so, again, do you take that jump and that leap and say, hey, I'm going to turn that switch on and go professional, get better there? Selfishly as Hawkeye fans, we want to keep them here and, win a bunch of games. But they got to do what's best for them, and I think we're just fortunate to be able to watch them from high school kids. I remember them at a Xavier camp when I first saw them. they were good then, but to watch where they're at now, and for a guy like Keegan to be a top 10 pick, it's pretty special. And we just, we've had a number of talent that's come through here lately. We're pretty fortunate as Hawkeye fans to be able to witness it.
Oh, amen to that. And you think about this, to your point about getting older, and people are like, oh, they're in their early 20s. But they went to the academy, that sports academy, out of high school, then came to Iowa. So, they're not as young as one might think.
Well, and I think that league is just so young. You look at a lot of these new, faces. Kentucky's always got guys coming in the draft, one and done, and, guys that are looking to make that shift and jump early. That league is a young league, and if you can get in there and, again, to play and earn money, your timeline of how many years you've got, it's always limited.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the sport is. So the earlier you can get in and start making money and create a name for yourself, all the better.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this many times in the past, and thank you for taking us through that, because your experience of then you go to the NBA in the middle second round and get picked by the then New Orleans Hornets, and then spend some time with the Houston Rockets, but then you play overseas and get hurt.
Yep.
Thank goodness you were academic All-American, academic All-Big Ten. You had your education in order, like the Murray twins are smart guys and sharp, and Dad Kenyon has trained them well. That look at like what you're doing now, or Jeff Horner in coaching, or Greg Bruner, getting his master's and working in the financial industry like you are. So it is nice to see that you can use that personal experience of handling your own finances and going overseas, playing pro ball. It's all worked for you.
Yeah, it has. And again, I feel blessed to get an education at the University of Iowa. I, again, knew there was going to be an end date. So you got to plan for what's next. And even my career, I had a bunch of injuries that I didn't count on happening. But you got to roll with it and take each day for what it's got and get better every day.
I know you're a Carroll, Iowa guy, but I always got to throw this in there. Your Uncle Mike and I knew each other back in the day when he was still a superintendent at Decorah schools, and he has since retired, but I'm from the Postville, Castalia area in northeast Iowa. And so I remember the first time you were on my radio show way back in the day when you were over in Egypt, I believe. Jerusalem. I say that every time. Jerusalem. And you and I did a Skype interview 15 years ago or 14 years ago. And your Uncle Mike said, I heard that over the radio, Dave. And my wife and I sat there and happily cried because they were going through your history, and now you're here today. So.
And he's fully retired. I got to see him last week for Easter, and they're doing well.
Shout out to Uncle Mike Haluska.
There you go.
There you go. Well, we'll be back with more Adam Haluska here on Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Going to talk more about the prospects of the transfer portal and where Fran McCaffrey and the Hawkeyes go for here for next basketball season. Former Iowa Hawkeye basketball playing great Adam Haluska joins us for another segment. Back with more in just a few moments.
To make the Mershman Seeds delivery experience even better this year, Mershman Seeds is offering you a brand new Apple app called Mershman Delivers. It will give you the estimated time of delivery down to the second and updates you as our truck makes its way to your dealership. Mershman Delivers will provide you the answer to the number one question we get when it comes to delivery. When exactly will the Mershman truck be here? Available on the Apple App Store. Download Mershman Delivers today.
Joel from Tice Chevrolet. We've lived through some very interesting times the last few months. Ensuring everyone's safety is more important than ever. That is why we're participating in the Chevy Clean program. At your request, we will pick up your vehicle, service it, and return it after we've cleaned it using the current CDC guidelines. This is just another way to work towards exceeding your expectations. So give us a call and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. You can see held over Adam Haluska, former Hawkeye basketball playing great, academic All-American, former All-Big Ten, darn near 2,000 points. You messed around and darn near scored 2,000
That's right.
in your college career at Iowa. But we'll brush over the 1 year at Iowa State and transfer portal. The reason I mention that to you, that was so controversial back then, as you remember. You're a Carroll, Iowa kid. You go to Ames close by and then transfer after the 1 year and join up with Horner and Bruner, and the Fab Three are here. So you know a little bit about transfer portal. You take a look at what Joe Toussaint did. He made it easy on himself. He went farther away, went to West Virginia. But let's you and I talk a little bit about what you go through a kid does when he considers a transfer, first of all. And everybody thinks, oh, that's easy. You just go here. That's a major upheaval in a young man's life, or young woman, whomever's doing that. But then you take a look also at what happens to the team and where that leaves Fran McCaffrey. So let's hit both sides of this, please, Adam.
Well, back when I did it, coaching staff all got let go at Iowa State. So there was, obviously a lot of stuff going on in Ames, But with Joe, there's no real consequence now with these guys that sit out. So when I made that decision, I knew that was a year that I had to sit out without playing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a hard thing to do, especially as somebody that's always been playing and competing for a spot. So I had to take a step back knowing that I had a whole year to kind of work on whatever I needed, to work on my weaknesses. So these guys now, I'm not a fan of this portal.
Yeah.
And I think Fran would probably say the same, along with a lot of other coaches out there. There's not a lot of loyalty to the school or the program. If you're not happy with minutes or you're not happy with your situation, you can leave, play right away. You're just looking at college basketball in general right now. Football, men's, women, whatever sport, it's just kind of like the Wild West out there. And I think it's got to be hard for these coaches and teams to kind of know what you're going to have coming back from year to year.
It's so interesting that you say that, because your buddy Jeff Horner and I have been talking off air, and when he joins us on this show, he went to the transfer portal, JUCO transfer, now at Truman State, where he had to, because he had 2 players go D1. And good for them. And Jeff said that too. You're a D2 school, and 2 of his kids are now going to play at Indiana State, so good for them. But it's becoming the way of the world. Or to quote Aldous Huxley, it's a brave new world. You know, it's just, so it's the way college sports has become, and look what it did. Jay Wright is no longer coaching at Villanova. He didn't come out and say that directly, but you and I both know.
Yeah. I mean, it's got its implications there, where I just think, how do you recruit these kids anymore? And even high school kids. If you're a college coach, do you wait to see what comes in the portal, or are you putting out a bunch of offers to high school kids that are relatively unproven, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know they're going to be good, but if you can go grab a center and that's where you're weak, you can go in that portal and go grab a center, and there's no consequence to sitting out. So again, I think it's definitely changing college basketball, and I don't know if it's for the better.
Well, I would agree with you on that. Sean Bock, our Hawkeye Insider, is going to join us for the next segment from CBS Sports. And it's interesting that we talk about transfers and who's coming in, who's recruiting. What are you seeing? What are you hearing as an alum? Or where do you think Fran should go? He's got to hit that transfer portal, because Agundale, if he was ever going to lean in on him to get some other minutes, he's now gone. There's a lot happening, to your point. Now, I know he's going to be watching Chris Murray closely, because like you said, man, if Chris ends up getting drafted,
there's a big hole.
Bingo. Now what are you going to do?
So I think, Fran and the staff, they do a great job of just looking ahead. I'm sure they've got boards and everything on there of just scenarios. So you're just going to have to be more active. And I think, Fran hasn't been a big portal guy, but that might be one of those things he's got to change along with these other coaches. And whether you go the JUCO route or you got to lean a little heavy on the portal, you're going to have to go look, because if guys leave or the cupboard's bare, you got to fill it.
Hopefully there's more Philip Robrachas out there, a guy who can plug and play right away. And, to your other point about coaching changes when you were at Iowa State, Billy Taylor, congratulations. We talked about it last week, got the head job at Elon University. And now Coach Eldridge is being elevated from the development of team development and film study, and now is going to be an assistant coach. Has a great relationship with players. And as you know, that is a big benefit.
Yeah, I mean, in this environment, you want to make sure guys are comfortable. They like the guys on staff, right? They got a guy they can relate to. So you still got to have that good cop, bad cop.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you want guys in that program that are relatable, and keep them in, and again, try to build and create that team bond and chemistry, which again, I think it'd be hard in this landscape. You get these kids that are unhappy at these different schools. You're trying to intermix all these different emotions and expectations. I can't even imagine the job Jeff and Fran and those guys have anymore. It's not making their job any easier.
That's for darn sure. A lot more misses than hits sometimes, as you know. So viewers, do yourself a favor. Do Google Adam Haluska, because if I sat here, and I brag on my guy quite a bit, but you got to be looking at the Drake Relays upcoming this week.
I'm excited
this
for
weekend.
it,
This guy, just Google Adam Haluska with track, not to mention other sports he played in high school. Yeah, basketball's his claim to fame, but he's too humble to say it, but this guy tore up the blue oval a couple times at State and at the Drake Relays, so I know you'll be looking. But Adam, it's always great seeing you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure as always. Thank you for coming in studio with us and joining us as always. And we may catch up with you this fall like we did last fall going into the NBA season. We'll see where the draft goes with Keegan and potentially Chris. So we look forward to catching up with you again.
We'll see what happens. Absolutely.
I love it. Thanks. He's Adam Haluska, former Hawkeye basketball playing great. I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeye. We'll be back with more to close out the show with Hawkeye Insider Sean Bock in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Automotive Family. We're living through some of the most interesting and challenging times many of us have ever seen. Knowing who you can rely on is more important than ever. Many of us turn to our families to get us through, and the same holds true here. From our fair upfront pricing to exceptional service after the sale, we truly want to exceed your expectations. So give us a call or stop by and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Who do you trust to produce the best yield? A seed company that's chasing technology or a seed company that's writing the book on it? Hi, this is Joe Mershman. Mershman Seeds has been treating soybeans for decades, long before it was commonplace. We're the leader in technology, introducing Mershman Seeds' latest advancement in seed treatment with an added fungicide to help produce a faster, more even emergence every single time. Who can you trust with your yields? Mershman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. You can see my buddy Sean Bock, the Hawkeye Insider with CBS Sports, joining us. Sean, we have been a buzz this whole area, this show especially, with recruiting. Yeah. So you and I are going to talk football recruiting, men's basketball recruiting, but let's first get to you and I hasten to even call it a spring game. We'll say spring scrimmage or spring practice, the closing practice. Last Saturday you were there. Give us some of your takeaways. And I thought you had some very astute observations on Twitter that you wrote columns on in reference to the defense outplaying the offense. But let's get into some other specifics. A lot of injuries to discuss, yeah. Coach Ferentz mentioned. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, I mean, the injury situation, obviously, that's one thing that a lot of people want addressed. There really doesn't seem to be too much. I mean, obviously, there were a lot of guys held out, but the expectation is that most, if not all, will be good by June. So that's a positive step. And yeah, you mentioned it too. The defense really did seem to outplay the offense, and you know that kind of seems to happen throughout these spring games. Obviously, didn't happen last year, like we talked about before. But the offense, you know, I've heard some good things about the offense behind the scenes. I know Arlen Bruce, wide receiver, was really playing well. Spencer Petras showed a little bit of growth. They're excited about Joey Lavis and what he can bring eventually. You know, there's still some kinks that need to be worked out, but, you know, I think when you look at this defense, I think one thing you have to be really excited about is the defensive line. Yeah. And I think the secondaries can be good too. I also think those linebackers, you know, you talk about Jack Campbell, Seth Benson, Justin Jacobs, you know, there's guys behind them, Jay Higgins, Kyler Fisher, two guys that I think are going to be really impressive. You know, maybe not, you know, maybe next year, depending on, you know, what happens with these decisions, but I think this defense is going to be, you know, as people call it, pretty nasty.
Yeah, you know, and to your point, I think it's interesting with the injuries. It was almost more who didn't play than who did play. And you mentioned Jack Campbell didn't play, but you take a look at all these guys, and from what Coach said, and you said, it wasn't major injuries. Guys should be back in June when they get to workouts, and then, of course, when fall ball hits in August, and then games. We're ready to roll. But I think you mentioned, too, guys like Cooper DeJean really stepping in. As a second-year guy, he'll be special teams, but especially defense. That cash position is going to be interesting. I think people wanted to just X marks the spot and put Xavier Nwampa there, but there's going to be some battles for guys playing that spot.
I think Cooper DeJean and Sebastian Castro, those are probably two of the guys that are going to compete for that spot, but my pick would be DeJean right now. I think, you know, and you talk about Xavier Nwampa as well, I think that free safety spot eventually is going to be his. I don't know how long it's going to take, but, you know, Quinn Schulte and Jackson Rexroth, Quinn's been there multiple years. Rexroth was a guy that really put up some good numbers in the weight room this year, and, you know, there's a chance he might move to linebacker as well. But, you know, that safety, competition is a good thing, especially in the back end of the defense, and especially when, you know, you're not just handing a guy like Wampa the job. You got guys in front of him that have been there for a while and, you know, can make things interesting, even like bolster his impact.
You know, a lot of guys on campus on the sideline for the spring scrimmage, a lot of visitors, a lot of campus, you know, guys taking their visits to Iowa for football. But let's talk a little bit about Caden Proctor and the national recruiting that's going on with him. Kid out of the Des Moines area. Was a teammate of Xavier Wampa in high school, so hopefully he can come to Iowa. Iowa's leading the way, but a lot of other suitors in there. And then, of course, we'll talk basketball recruiting. So in the next minute or so, give us the 411 on Caden Proctor and then the basketball recruits, please.
Yeah, Oregon made a really big impression on that last visit. So I think the Ducks are going to be really big players for him. You know, you talk about Penn State, they were supposed to get a visit. Arkansas State, Alabama's in the mix. You know, there's a lot of good buzz that maybe Iowa could wrap things up in the last couple weeks or next couple weeks. But, you know, I think that visit to Oregon really opened his eyes to see what other places he could go to. And, you know, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from there. I still like Iowa, but, you know, those other schools are going to be players.
By his workout videos, he is a beast. I'm telling you. You went and saw him in Des Moines yesterday with a bunch of other folks, and so you'll keep us updated on that. So basketball, congratulations to Coach Eldridge getting moved up in Billy Taylor's place. Congrats again to Billy to go to Elon University as the head coach there. So great relationship with the players, Coach Eldridge. But how's Hawkeye recruiting looking for Fran McCaffrey?
Yeah, the transfer portal is going to be really important. Fardaz Amack, Utah Valley transfer, a guy who averaged, I think, 18 and 13 last year at Utah Valley. You know, he's going to get on campus for an official visit soon. You talk about Trey Mitchell from Texas, who is from UMass. He's going to be a really big guy, too. The staff has some good connections there. You mentioned Eldridge. He's a Northeast guy, and he's got, you know, those ties up there, so that'll be really important. So, Fran said he's not shy about saying that he needs to go get a center in the portal. So that's going to be really important. And, if he's saying it to the media, that makes it all the more important.
Well, like I said, Adam Haluska, too. Hopefully there's another a taller Philip or Bradshaw out there. But Sean, great stuff from you as always. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave.
You're very welcome. For Sean Bock and 24/7 Sports and Hawkeye Insider, CBS Sports, also to Craig and Stacy Schroeder with Fight with Flash, and former Hawkeye basketball playing great Adam Haluska for joining us. And for you, the viewers, for tuning in. For Hawkeye, I'm Dave O'Hara. That's all from me. Thanks to all of you. And as always, thanks for staying tuned at the end of the program for these rolling credits to give our advertisers and sponsors the attention and credit they so richly deserve. And as always, to our aforementioned guest and to you, the viewers. That's all from us at Hawkeye. Thanks to all of you.